Hey everybody, I am going to go over my favorite photos from the month of October from this trip. So this is going to be a little bit different, not as much travel, more photography based. But I just wanted to say thank you so much to everyone who's watched so far. I haven't really talked about myself too much on this channel, but one of the things I'm really trying to improve upon with this trip and just as I go around is bringing my camera with me and getting better at photography. I've done a few things professionally in the photography space. But I don't really consider myself a professional, and I want to get a lot better. And it's just one of those things that's like a huge hobby of mine that I want to just get better at. So as I go through and look back at my photos, I want to review and try to figure out what I did right, what I did wrong, what I could have done better, and also just kind of look back at the memories from the last month as well. So let's hop right into it. Let's breeze through these really quick and just show them off again. So starting in northern Minnesota, this little, I called it a turkey looking thing. It's a grouse that popped out in front of me on the trail. I think it was more of a cool moment, and you'll kind of see, you know, the difference between like my favorite photos being like decent photo with like good memory behind it, and then like really awesome framing composition and it looks good. So here again, another one of those type of photos. This is a nice one I really like of the waterfall. Then we move on to Michigan. We've got the sunset. Then it started to be stormy the next day. Got some really cool waves crashing photos like that one for the next couple of days. I really like this one. We'll definitely go over this one later. There is a whole bunch of fall colors in here as well. So we're still in upper Michigan. This one, I'm a huge fan of this one. And then we got these three right here that are all kind of the same photo, but just a little bit different here and there. This is my absolute favorite from Upper Michigan, I think. Then we go to Chicago. Really didn't do much in terms of photography in Chicago, but at least I got a couple things that I liked. Then we move on to Indiana. I basically went bird watching in Indiana, but we got a lot of birds that I'm really happy with. Then we move on to Pittsburgh. We have the aviary in Pittsburgh, where there's obviously just a lot of birds to photograph. I got probably my favorite shot of the month. I know that when I went to the aviary, I went over this in a sort of similar way. I went and edited my photos afterwards. So like you've probably seen more detail on these photos if you've watched that episode. Then we got some more, I want to say a little bit more street photography. I was going to call it a little bit more abstract, but it's mostly street photography from Pittsburgh. A lot of stacking, a lot of interesting shapes and textures. So that's pretty much all the photos from October that I really liked. Whether that be because I think it's a great photograph or just because I like it personally. Which I need to start getting better in the I like it personally category when favoriting photos, because I feel like sometimes I don't do that. So this one I'm a huge fan of. I think the composition is really well. I think it's interesting enough. I think there's contrast in the right spots, and I think the picnic table really just draws your eye in every time. Like there's almost nothing to look at over here, and this tree does a really good job of bringing you back. Like it kind of points to the wave and the wave pulls you down, and then there's not much down here to look at, and it's always kind of drawing you back to the picnic table, which I really like. And then not to mention it's just interesting. You can tell it's fall, you can tell it was fairly windy on the lake, there's waves crashing in, and that was from my northern Michigan vlog. But let's go over this one. I'm actually really happy with this. This was the first time I tried to take like a picture of me and the van together, and it was raining. I don't know if you can really see the rain. The headlights were just glowing perfectly with whatever settings I had on the camera at the time. So that really like created this awesome glow, and not to mention like all the trees around the van are yellow, so there's just this like super cool glow. I do wish there was like a little less glow on me so that I stood out a little bit more in the photo, but otherwise it's really cool. Yeah, so I took like a bunch of them, and so you can kind of see what the headlights were doing just naturally. Like this is probably unedited, and like that's edited, so like just adding a little bit more white and highlights to the photo made those headlights pop a little bit more, and that's, you know, ultimately all I wanted out of it. So the next photo I'm a huge fan of. I think it was a secondary lighthouse. It wasn't on the water. It was like tucked in these trees, like up the road from where I went to the gym. So it wasn't anything like right there. It's not like a big touristy thing. It was just at the end of a road, like a nice residential road. And I kind of felt awkward walking up there with my big camera because there's just people's houses and people were hanging out. So this one's up there. This one's probably top 3. This was, again, Michigan. Had a really good time in Michigan. The lake was super calm. There was almost no wind, and you can see the original photo here before I got a chance to edit it. So what I did was I went in, and obviously it's a raw photo, so you can take a lot of the shadows back and make them actually look like how they, look a little bit more in person. And then another thing I do is, like, you can see there's almost no detail in the cloud here. So Lightroom has a pretty cool feature where you can like paint in, but you can also select like the sky. And so I selected the sky and made it a little bit warmer and a little bit more red. Changed the hue a little bit just to really make it look how it looked in person. Took the texture down on the sky like as much as I could, just because I think it gives you a more dreamy image. This is my favorite bird shot. He's kind of encapsulated by a bush back here, which, looking back on it, I probably should have shot this at like higher f-stop, just to get the leaves to be a little bit more solid as opposed to just super blurry like they are. Another photo I really like is this one, but what I noticed is that, like, in a shot like this, you can tell that's not a seagull. But in this one, you can't tell that's not a seagull from back here, and you can't tell that it's like the size of these birds because there's nothing to compare it to. So this is my best city shot probably of the month. It was the downtown skyline in Pittsburgh. They lit it up pink for breast cancer awareness. I think one of the things that really makes this a cool photo is all the reflections in the water just coming straight towards you. One of the things I really like to do is take the color temperature, crank that towards blue if it's a nighttime photo, and that really helps get rid of this like super warm look to all the lights inside the buildings, and it gives like the sky a really nice dark blue color. I got this photo where you can see my reflection in the eye of the eagle, which I think is freaking badass, to get a photo that sharp. Like, if I wanted to, I could crop the photo in to this and it would still be a good photo. And that's my favorite photo of the month for sure. Wanted to do a couple like themed things, so like textures and like really tight crops with heavy saturation. You can kind of see like the original photo is cool, but like when you crop it in like that, like it's just an interesting photo. You kind of have to look at it for a second to even realize what you're looking at. Well, here, this is a 35mm photo from that same location, and then these are 400mm from that same location. So that's how much I can get in zoom quality. The ability to make more creative images with the big zoom lens is immense. So yeah, that was just kind of going over my favorite photos from the month. I think I want to do this every month, but I want to start including like the shots I completely missed and going over, like maybe like the top 3 or the worst 3. So like, just for example, like this photo right here of the fountain at Point Park in Pittsburgh, could have probably been better. Did I crop this at all? I don't even know if I edited this, to be honest with you. This is a photo example of something that I like the moment, but I didn't get the right photo at the time. The photo could have been much better. There's something there that if I just were to have moved around and not really just been like, oh, I'm just gonna shoot this shot because I like the idea of it. If I'd been like, okay, there's the idea. If I move my feet 10 feet to the left, I probably got the same shot, but with a better background. This was a really good month of photography, honestly. I was excited to go out and shoot. It was the very beginning of my van trip. But let me know if you guys enjoyed watching this and seeing kind of my critique of my own photos as I try to get better at photography and this kind of stuff. So if you liked it, leave a like or a comment down below.
We don't let nobody tell us what to do.